What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So we are going to talk about Obamacare, and we are specifically going to talk about the Obamacare subsidies that are going to expire this year. So let's talk about that. And if you have questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. And if you can, spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, and let's continue. So at the end of 2022, a major pandemic era provision is going to end unless this is extended by Congress. The problem is that this provision is costing the American taxpayers even more money. And estimates are showing that people that make less than $200,000 per year are going to see their taxes rise. This means that roughly 73 million people will be impacted. That is why this is so significant. And I'm going to give you some numbers in just a minute. And these are going to be troubling to many people. But let's talk about what this provision is and how this has been helping. First off, this provision, okay, the Obamacare subsidies or Affordable Care Act subsidies, these were passed under the American Rescue Plan back in March of 2021, right, during the pandemic. These subsidies gave lower income households either free or reduced health insurance for about the last year of the pandemic. This was very big. This helped out millions of people. However, there's a very good chance that these subsidies will expire on January 1st, 2023. And that's why I want to touch base with you on this. Because now congressional Democrats, and again, I don't want to push all the responsibility on congressional Democrats, but they were the ones that passed the American Rescue Plan, okay, back in March of 2021. If you remember, Democrats said no Republican voted for this. Well, Democrats knew that these subsidies had an end date. They knew that. But what they didn't account for was the surge in insurance prices in a time when we are going to be in the middle of a midterm election, because this is going to be such an important election. And I say this because Democrats didn't plan on President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris having abysmal polling numbers. They were predicting that passing the American Rescue Plan would boost their numbers. They'd go up, but things have only went down. And another thing that Democrats didn't plan for is to have recent record high inflation. This is one of the reasons why that plan that was passed, the American Rescue Plan, this is why a lot of people are pointing to that, saying that was the issue. That was the big tipping point that caused this massive amount of inflation. But let's get back to the Obamacare subsidies and what's happening, because here's the plan. The plan as of right now is to extend the Obamacare subsidies long enough that Americans will get some additional support while we wait for inflation to come back down. Okay, that makes sense. The only problem with this idea is Obamacare, it originally went from costing the American taxpayers about $940 billion. Okay, if you remember years ago, this is what the big deal was. It was almost $1 trillion, right? It was a big deal. Well, now the Obamacare subsidies and Obamacare in general are costing American taxpayers $1.68 trillion. Yeah, we're coming up on double what it originally was quoted at. Now, with multiple senators mainly, but multiple lawmakers balking at the idea of adding to our national deficit, this could become a tough sell. So yes, there's still a chance that we don't see these subsidies pass, but there's also a chance that something could happen. And let's address that, because it doesn't mean this is going to be impossible. It just means it could be difficult. So here's what we know. Earlier this month, a group of 54 moderate House Democrats, they were asking and pressured Nancy Pelosi and the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to do what they can to ensure that this political time bomb doesn't go off right before the midterm elections. This would be devastating to Democrats. They asked this because come October, the Department of Health and Human Services is going to send out a letter to all Obamacare recipients and letting them know how much their premiums are going to increase in 2023. So it's a very important time. But reports are also indicating that about 10 million Americans will get a rate hike adjustment of at least $150 to about $200 per month. That's fairly substantial when all prices are increasing. Food's more expensive, rent's more expensive, gas is more expensive, and now insurance is going to be more expensive as well. That's not a great look. We also know that about 3 million people will simply lose their health coverage entirely, which is about a reduction per person of roughly $3,300 per year. Okay, a family of 4 is going to lose about $12,000 or $13,000 per year in just this benefit. Well, again, pretty substantial. But here's what most lawmakers have been waiting for. Most lawmakers have been waiting for one person, Senator Joe Manchin, to come out and talk. Well, he did that this week. This week, Senator Joe Manchin talked about how he could actually get on board with extending Obamacare subsidies past the end of this year. That's good news for Democrats. However, it will not be as simple as just let's extend it. He wants to make some changes. Here's what he had to say. And he's always said this, okay, but he made it very clear we need to help the people that are most in need. Those are his words. We need to help the people that are most in need. If you remember, when we talked about stimulus checks back in 2021, Senator Joe Manchin said we need to help the people that are most in need. When we talked about the child tax credit payments, he said the same thing. We need to help the people that are most in need. This means that he wants to ensure that the higher income earners don't receive this benefit. So there's going to have to be an income limit. Now, according to the vice president of Kaiser Family Foundation, he says, and I quote, an upper income limit for the ACA subsidies at a level at or above 4 times the poverty level would preserve assistance for the vast majority of enrollees, but a small number would face big premium hikes. Just to give you an idea, for a family of 4, the federal government has this rate set at $27,750. That's per year. Well, according to the 4 times this number, we would be looking at about I'm just going to say $110,000 to $115,000 mark. That's probably what's going to happen. So this is likely what's going to get talked about over the coming months. But keep in mind, this will not expire until December 31st of 2022. Congress, though, they want to get this passed before the midterm elections because after the midterm elections, it could be a struggle. So we will likely see more attention over the summer months regarding the Obamacare subsidies. My guess is we would ultimately see this passed sometime in September. Okay, so there's still a chance that if you are getting either free or you are getting some reduction to your premiums, just understand this could get extended. If you are a higher income earner, you may get cut off. But Democrats are racing to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies. And so this could make Obamacare a little bit cheaper. But just understand, we won't know probably for at least a couple of months.